innovative storage solutions and furniture to maximize your space, to fashionable bedding and accessories to make it uniquely yours, IKEA is helping make college living truly inspired by you. And now, qualified college students can get 15% off their IKEA purchases. Visit IKEA Oak Creek or check out the Ready for College section on IKEA.com/US to learn more.
You're listening to 94.5 ESPN, WKTI and WKTI HD Milwaukee, a Good Karma Brands radio station. It's time for the best 60 minutes of your life. This is the Homer Hour, broadcasting live from the Gruber Law Office's One Call That's All studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Here's Emmy Award winner Homer.
Yeah, the Emmy Award winner Homer taking the night off. Alex Strofe with you. I am live at the Milwaukee Night Market on Wisconsin Avenue. It is bumping out here. We got live music, we got DJs, we got food trucks, we've got art displays. I see homemade honey in front of me. Buzzing on a Wednesday afternoon here in the month of August. Hope everybody's having a terrific Wednesday. Let's have the best 60 minutes of your life here on the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN Milwaukee, 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. As the week winds on, we get ready for preseason game number 2 for the Green Bay Packers as they head out to Denver tomorrow. Have a joint practice with the Broncos Friday, and then a preseason game, a Sunday night kickoff for preseason game number 2 between the Packers and the Broncos. A 7 p.m. kickoff. I imagine most of us will be sleeping by the end of the game. I don't love the Sunday night kickoff for preseason game number 2, but that's neither here nor there. Tim Van Voren will join us at 5:45 tonight to get the latest from Green Bay and talk about a few things going on with the Packers. The thing I really want to start with today, though, is A.J. Dillon. And I know he's gotten a hard time. He's gotten a lot of flack for his performance or lack thereof Saturday in the preseason opener against the Cleveland Browns. He had several attempts to get a couple of yards and just couldn't do it. 4 carries, 2 yards. That is an average of half a yard per carry. That's not very good. That is 18 inches per carry. And now the question remains, as Emmanuel Wilson, by the way, had a very, very nice preseason game, just like he did a year ago, and had some contributions in the postseason. It begs the question, after the Packers signed Josh Jacobs, they draft Marshawn Lloyd in the 3rd round. Emmanuel Wilson seems to be progressing, not regressing. Where does A.J. Dillon fit in to this team? Is A.J. Dillon running back 2? Is he running back 3? Is he off the roster? And A.J. Dillon, who for years now, entering his 5th season in the NFL, has in a way been the face of the Packers and the face of the community up in Green Bay and Northeast Wisconsin. He's loved Door County, nicknamed the mayor of Door County. He's taken in what it means to be a Green Bay Packer. I just said it on Kyle Bruston Ortman to Kyle Wallace. He is everything you want a Green Bay Packer to be. Off the field. On the field, he had many opportunities last year when Aaron Jones was injured and just didn't quite provide what you needed out of a running back 1. And now he's brought back on a very low-risk deal, making near the veterans minimum, just over $1 million this year. And it's a low-risk move for the Packers to bring him back. And we know A.J. Dillon doesn't want to leave Green Bay. But now that he's been criticized and criticized more and more and more, yesterday at his locker, Cody Krupp of Fox 11 up in Green Bay, WLUK, asked him about, hey, people on Twitter are saying things aren't going very well. Here's what A.J. Dillon had to say. For the guy that is usually so nice and understanding and seems like a lovely guy, it's the first time we've really heard A.J. Dillon bite back. Here's the Packers running back at his locker yesterday.
On Saturday, you didn't have a ton of opportunities, of course, trying to get, the 2nd, 3rd, and 1. When you look back on film, people on Twitter might say, why can't he get a yard? Like, what did you see when you watch back? Is there, it seems like, is there no room? It's just nothing to, what can you do at some point?
I graded a 98%. If you know football, you watch the tape, and you don't look at the stats, and you are actually put yourself in the game, somebody else go out there and do more than what I did. That's just a situation, and that's football. And sometimes you have a drive like that where a block doesn't happen here, block doesn't happen there. I don't know what Twitter said because I don't go on Twitter unless I'm posting something, but I can imagine somebody, there's nowhere you're gonna go there in those certain situations. But in all honesty, man, if you don't live inside my house, your opinion to me is so secondary that I couldn't be bothered with it. But to anybody on Twitter or whatever, you can't do what we're doing. Just enjoy, just watch, and I promise you, everybody in this building is working their ass off to do the best they can.
All right, so 6 things to react to from A.J. Dillon yesterday on WLUK talking to Cody Krupp, the sports reporter up in Green Bay. Let's start with that final thing he said. I promise you, everybody in this building is working their ass off to be great. I don't think you doubt that. I don't doubt that. I don't think any of us doubt that. As real quick, I'm at the Milwaukee Night Market. There was a man in front of me with 2 chickens on his shoulder, posing for a picture right now in front of the Night Market. I mean, the things you'll see out here. But to go back to A.J. Dillon, the Packers running back, everybody in this building is working their. Yeah, I get that. Of course you are. We know what the Packers' expectations are. You know what the Packers' expectations always are. They nickname it Title Town. And I know the Emmy Award winner Homer doesn't think Green Bay should be nicknamed Title Town, but they call it Title Town. The expectation is to get back to the Super Bowl and win the trophy that's named after your former head coach. So I believe that. The other thing he said that I agree with is sometimes you do have a drive like that. You don't get the right blocks. You don't get the opportunity. Did the offensive line do him any favors on Saturday? No. And I'm not blaming the lack of production from Dillon there. Strictly on Dillon. There's other people to fault. There's plenty of blame to go around. But when you start pulling cards like A.J. Dillon did, in what we just heard, I graded a 98%. You can't do what we're doing, people on Twitter. It's just lazy and defensive and lacks accountability. A.J. Dillon wasn't an undrafted free agent. He wasn't a day 3 pick. He was a guy brought in to not only back up Aaron Jones, but eventually become the lead guy. He was a second-round pick in 2020. Let's think back to that draft. The Packers, who were coming off of an NFC Championship game loss, prepared for their future. They drafted Jordan Love in the first round and A.J. Dillon in the second round. Sometimes draft picks don't work out. And that's what I'm getting at with A.J. Dillon. He's a draft pick that didn't just work out. It just hasn't. Just about 3.5 yards per carry last year when he was a starter for 6 or 7 games and had plenty of opportunity. And now this moment on Saturday just amplifies the competition in the running back room. You draft a guy in the 3rd round in Marshawn Lloyd out of USC. You have Emmanuel Wilson entering his 2nd year, who, by the way, stole the show on Saturday from a running back perspective. And now you have A.J. Dillon going at people on Twitter after saying, if you don't live inside my house, your opinions are secondary, which they should be. But then he says, you can't do what we're doing. Everybody here is working their butt off to make this a championship roster. Yeah. I want to hear from the head coach, Matt LaFleur, who was asked about A.J. Dillon's performance on Saturday. And A.J. Dillon clearly didn't listen much to his head coach, who kind of disagrees with what A.J. Dillon just said, and we just heard from. Here's Matt LaFleur Monday after Saturday's preseason game on that drive where A.J. Dillon was asked to get 2 yards, two carries in a row, and was unable to do it.
I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of daylight to run the ball, and certainly when you have 3 cracks at it to get a yard and you don't get it done, I mean, that's a problem. So we got to make sure we do a better job with that. I think we got to play with a little bit better leverage, get our pad level down, and sometimes you just got to bury your head in there and do what you can. But I don't think the opportunity wasn't great in any of those situations.
So just like I said, Matt LaFleur saying there's plenty of blame to go around, but you gotta get your pad level down, AJ. And yeah, the offensive line needs to block better. I hear all that. But preseason game, regular season game, postseason game, dating back the last 4 years now, outside of what, maybe 1 or 2 games, A.J. Dillon has never done anything to go, whoa, that guy's a future star at that position. He had that great Tennessee game his rookie year in the snow in 2020. But other than that, I'm not going, oh, man, I really hope A.J. Dillon can figure it out. I hope A.J. Dillon makes the roster. 800-990-3776. Your way into the Homer Hour. 800-990-ESPN. 800-990-3776. Also on Twitter, at the Homer Hour, we're going to throw the discount liquor poll question in the field. Do you think A.J. Dillon's going to make this roster? When you look at it, right? Josh Jacobs is safe. We know he's the top running back. But then Emmanuel Wilson, Marshawn Lloyd. You're probably not caring for running backs. A.J. Dillon doesn't do a lot for you on special teams, where Emmanuel Wilson can. He was returning kicks on Saturday. I don't know that A.J. Dillon's going to make this roster. And look, I like the guy. I like everything he's done for the community. All the charitable things he's done. The way he's wrapped his arms around the community. I'm from Green Bay. I love that. The mayor of Door County. I'm rooting for him. But it's a performance-based business. If you're not performing, you're not going to be employed long. A.J. Dillon entering year 5. I'm not impressed. So we're going to throw the poll in the field on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at the Homer Hour. Do you think A.J. Dillon's going to make the roster this year? We'll check in on that poll a bit later. But would love to hear from you. Where are you at on A.J. Dillon? Is he going to make the roster? You rooting for A.J. Dillon? 800-990-3776. Dave from Aaron on the text line. You better respect what Packers fans have to say, A.J. He is running back 3 and going down. I would pound him a ton in the next 2 games. Next 2 preseason games. He wants to see more A.J. Dillon. And I do too. I don't need to see Josh Jacobs. Right? You saw him for 3 plays on Saturday in the preseason win over the Browns. I don't really need to see Josh Jacobs. I know what he's capable of. An all-pro 2 years ago. 2,000-yard guy all-purpose 2 years ago. I don't really need to see what Josh Jacobs needs to prove. Need to see some from A.J. Dillon and Emmanuel Wilson. Marshawn Lloyd, the rookie out of USC, dealing with a hamstring injury. Not sure if we'll see him Sunday against the Broncos or Friday in the joint practice. But A.J. Dillon's a guy you might see play a whole half or 3 quarters, because I think his roster spot is on the line when it comes to these next couple of days. So Dave from Aaron, he's running back 3 and going down. I might make the argument he's running back 4. We all watched the same game on Saturday. And I try not to overreact too much to a preseason game, right? It's just that, a preseason game. But you can't ignore what Emmanuel Wilson did on Saturday. About 70 yards rushing, touchdown score, looked elusive, played well in that San Francisco playoff loss. It's hard to ignore what Emmanuel Wilson did. I don't know, man. John in Milwaukee in the text line, 800-990-3776. A.J. Dillon needs to learn how to run further than 3 steps before he falls down. Yeah, I wouldn't be that rude. But, hey, John's going to say it. John's going to say what we're all thinking. A.J.'s, he wrote a children's book called Quadzilla Finds His Footing. If Quadzilla wants to keep his job, he's got to find his footing. And he certainly has not through the first 4 years of his career. We'll continue to talk A.J. Dillon. Do want to dive into the fact we won't see a lot of the Packers starters on Sunday. Good news? Bad news? Let's not forget what the Packers did when they rested their starters at the beginning of the Matt LaFleur era. They stumbled out of the gates. Is it good that Jordan Love won't play Sunday and probably not next weekend against Baltimore? We'll talk about that coming up next. It's the Homer Hour. I'm live. I'm Alex Strofe in for Homer, first off. Second off, live at the Milwaukee Night Market on Wisconsin Avenue. It is buzzing here in downtown Milwaukee. If you're looking for a bite to eat, you're looking for something to decorate your home with, it's awesome down here, man. We've got TV cameras rolling by. We've got people carrying around live chickens. It is quite the scene here at the Milwaukee Night Market. Prizes available to win. We will continue to dive into Packers talk as we're with you until 6 o'clock. It is the Homer Hour right here on ESPN Wisconsin.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on 94.5 ESPN.
Eastbound on 94, we got some backups from Highway 16 all the way through to about Barker Road. We've also got delays then from the Zoo interchange all the way through the Stadium interchange. Westbound 94 backed up from 16th Street all the way through to about Hawley Road. Back on the brakes west of the Highway 100 through into Waukesha County. And more delays heading past Highway F. Southbound on 41, backups from Appleton Avenue all the way down past Capitol Drive. And then on the bypass as you're making your way westbound. You're seeing delays out of the Mitchell all the way to 68th Street. Traffic is brought to you by Two Men in a Junk Truck. Have unwanted clutter or junk? Go to twomeninajunktruck.com for a free, no-obligation estimate. Keep what you love, ditch what you don't. And checking the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight, increasing clouds, more humid. Rain moves in later on with a low of 68. Tomorrow, windy morning rain, then scattered afternoon thunderstorms up to an inch of rain likely, a high of 77. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga on 94.5 ESPN.
Wilde and Tausch.
Did you get nervous as a player, first of all, before matchups with Bruce Irvin or whatever it might have been?
Presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Also sponsored by American Family Insurance.
He's such a jerk, isn't he? He just can't help himself. He's got perfect kids. They eat all of their vegetables and everything else. And nothing, but Jason loves to throw pot shots whenever he can. Have you noticed that about him?
Weekdays 9 to noon on 94.5 ESPN.
An epic Brewers homestand kicks off August 9th, featuring a division duel against the Reds. First place battles with the Dodgers and Guardians, plus 3 giveaway games. Find the game for you at brewers.com/tickets.
You've paid too much for that nice ride. Why put it through a gas station car wash when you can treat it to Tsunami Express instead? At Tsunami Express Car Wash, you can expect nothing but the best with unlimited wash memberships, state-of-the-art wash technology, and powerful free vacuums. With their 5th location opening at 5209 West Fond du Lac Avenue in Milwaukee, make sure to stop by and get a free car wash from August 21st through September 1st. That's a $22 value for free. Tsunami Express Car Wash. Wash, chill, repeat. Learn more at TsunamiExpress.com.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
Faith and Bigora, lads and lassies. Irish Fest is almost here. One of the great Milwaukee summer festivals. And we'd like to send you there. Compliments of Discount Liquor. Hi, this is Marie from Discount Liquor. Purchase any one 18-pack of Miller Lite, Draft, or 64, or Coors Light, and receive 1 free ticket to Irish Fest. But don't delay. Tickets go quickly, and I know you don't want to miss all the great Irish food and beverages. Visit us today at 51st in Oklahoma and Milwaukee, and on Barstow and Main in downtown Waukesha. Discount Liquor, voted best liquor store in Milwaukee again. See us this week for your free Irish Fest ticket.
The only thing that tops our selection is your savings discount liquor.
Check out all of our weekly specials at discountliquorinc.com.
Golfers, listen up. It's Gabe Neitzel from On the Tee, and we are heading to Scotland with our friends at Wisconsin Golf Trips. That's right, Scotland. You can join myself and Stephen Watson as we head overseas to play some of the best courses in the world. This package includes green fees, lodging, transportation, and more. But there are only a limited amount of spots available, so sign up now. For information on the trip and a link for paying, you can text GOLF right now to the ESPN Milwaukee Talk and Text line at 800-990-3776. That's GOLF to 800-990-3776.
Stay up to date on the green and gold all off season. The Green and Gold Fix podcast is brought to you by Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Luxury stay, elite play, unwind in sophisticated comfort. Win big, dine, and experience the events in Milwaukee. Rain Man is brought to you by Cousin Subs. Skip the line and order online with a Cousin Subs mobile app and join the Cousins Club. Cousin Subs, they believe in better. This is the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
The Homer Hour live from the Milwaukee Night Market rolls on live right here at Wisconsin Avenue. We're just outside the offices. Chris Larson, Pebble, and I are actually Chris, maybe 50 yards from one another.
Yeah, pretty much. Homer on one show was out there for the night market a couple weeks back, or like a month back probably. He actually ran back and forth inside to do Rain Man because he was worried about the integrity of the game with it being so loud outside.
I like that. That's Homer. That's the epitome of Homer. Speaking of Homer, I'm Alex Strofe in for Homer tonight with you here on ESPN Wisconsin. Talking about the latest with the Packers as the preseason rolls on. Preseason game number 2 coming up on Sunday in Denver against the Broncos. Joint practice coming up on Friday against the Broncos. That will be, quote-unquote, Jordan Love's live bullets, right? Those will be his reps. He will not play in the preseason game on Sunday after playing just 3 snaps in the opener on Saturday. So we will see how they handle that. The Packers will also host the Baltimore Ravens next week for a joint practice next week, Thursday, before the preseason finale a week from Saturday at Lambeau Field against the Ravens. I'm curious to see if he gets any snaps in that game. My gut tells me probably not. I would guess Love is done for the preseason, which I'm okay with, but we'll dive into that a bit deeper in just a moment. I had a text sent to me on the text line that said, hey, how's the kicking battle going? Well, in-game, it's fine. Everybody made their kicks on Saturday, but according to Rob Domofsky, who's up in Green Bay, covers the Packers for ESPN. You hear him all the time on ESPN Wisconsin. A rough day for the kickers. Anders Carlson was 4 of 6 today. That is 66%. Greg Joseph was 3 of 6 today. That is 50%. So if anybody with a leg is available, please report to 1265 Lombardi Avenue ASAP. We could use you. We being the Packers fans. That would be good. That would be good. All right, let's dive into the idea that starters will not be playing Sunday against the Broncos. The preseason has evolved, right? Obviously, you used to have 4 games. Now you're down to 3 the last couple of years. The explosion of joint practices the last few years, it has been a really interesting trend in the NFL. I'm curious how coaches view this, right? Matt LaFleur is a younger coach, one of the younger coaches in the league, obviously very progressive with his ideology when it comes to, hey, I don't want to risk injury, but I do want to get that competitive edge up, so maybe bringing in somebody somebody that's not ourselves for 11 on 11s and some live bullets is a good thing. And traditionally, I agree, right? You get Jordan Love to play a first-team defense in an environment that's controlled where he won't get hit. He doesn't have to worry about injury. He doesn't have to worry about exhausting himself. And he doesn't, he's not going to get hit. And that's what you want, right? When you pay a guy $55 million a year, I'd assume you probably don't want him rolling an ankle in a meaningless game, right? So I'm good with that when it comes to Jordan Love. But let's not forget this is the youngest team in the NFL. Obviously, the rookies, when you look at the safety position, the linebacker position, you're going to want to see some of those guys in these preseason games. I think more reps for those guys could prove crucial when it comes to this team's success in the regular season. And we talked last segment when we were talking about A.J. Dillon about the expectations this year. These expectations are no short of a Super Bowl for the Green Bay Packers, despite being the youngest team in the league. It's a team that went on the road to the 2 seed last year in the wild card round of the playoffs and smoked them. They paid no mind to it. They went in there, they smoked them. And then they had the eventual NFC champion Niners on the ropes in the divisional round. So this is a team that wants to get back there and further than they did a year ago. So, and for being so young, outside of the Jairs and the Preston Smiths, the only 30-year-old on the roster, the Rashawn Garys, the Jordan Loves, the Elton Jenkins, I would like to see some of these guys, right? Like a Sean Ryan at right guard, or obviously an A.J. Dillon who needs to prove his worth. How about a Jaden Reed and a Dontavian Wicks? I wouldn't mind seeing those guys here in preseason game number 2. I think it's a bold decision to sit all these guys the remainder of the way. History tends to repeat itself. And when we look back at the beginning of Matt LaFleur's tenure as the head coach, which began in 2019, he didn't play the starters in the preseason. Then he went out and got smoked by the New Orleans Saints. They did it again the next year. Didn't play their starters in the preseason. Week 1, they played the Minnesota Vikings. Got smoked. Wasn't close. Look at last year. Youngest team in the league, unproven quarterback, was not making $55 million at the time. Played in the preseason. Got to prove yourself. Got to get familiar with the system. Got to get comfortable. What'd they do in week 1? Despite how rocky the first half of the season was, week 1 wasn't. They went into Chicago. They smoked them. Jordan Love was the MVP frontrunner after week 1. My opinion. So, I'm okay with Jordan Love sitting, but I'd like to see some of these other starters play. What are your thoughts on that? 800-990-3776. You pro starters in the preseason, you anti-starters in the preseason. You can get in on the conversation. Also, still reacting to some of the A.J. Dillon stuff that's popped up recently. 800-990-3776. Just want to get a couple of these texts out as we're talking about A.J. Dillon. A lot of responses rolling in on that. Scott in the 262. A.J. Dillon was drafted for the future. That being said, If the Packers believed they would have moved on from Jones to bring in Josh Jacobs, who would have believed that? I wouldn't have. It's put up or shut up time for AJ. And his seat isn't just hot, it's on fire. I think after Saturday, you're absolutely right, Scott. Dave and Aaron wants to break it down. Let's put it in normal people's terms. If you work at McDonald's at minimum wage and you make 6 burgers wrong in a row, you will be gone, even if you're a good person. Yeah, the leash is running out for Dillon. The seat is not hot, it's on fire, from Scott in the 262. I'm curious to see how this shakes out. And I mentioned Marshawn Lloyd, who's dealing with the hamstring injury. Mike in the 414 chimes in. If Lloyd's hamstring injury is bad, put him on the IR. Keep Dillon and Wilson at the start of the year, see how it shakes out. Yeah, that could be how it works out. We will see. 800-990-3776 is your way into the Homer Hour. I'm Alex Strofe in for Homer tonight here on ESPN Wisconsin, talking all things Packers. But can't forget, we're only a few months out from Bucs season. The next edition of Behind the Bucs is here on the Bucs Plus Audio Network, presented by Gallagher. Bucs stars share their experiences from competing on the world's biggest stage overseas, from battling against their Bucs teammates to teaming up with fierce rivals, all for the glory of gold. Behind the Bucs offers unique access and deep storytelling for Bucs fans, unlike ever before. Presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker or an HR and benefits consultant. Find it on Bucs.com/plus, the Bucs app, and wherever you get your podcast. I read something interesting earlier today from the Packers head coach, Matt LaFleur, on his philosophy with the wide receivers and his philosophies with joint practices, talking about both of those things. Pebble, I don't know if we have the audio on both of these or just one of these, but I thought that the no block, no rock philosophy for the wide receivers was really interesting. As he talked about, essentially, right, it's self-explanatory. If you're a wide receiver on this team and you're not blocking, you're not going to be catching passes. And when you look at the Packers' depth, specifically at wide receiver, this might set you apart, right? If you're a good blocker, you're going to be on the field more. Here's Matt LaFleur giving you the full explanation of a very catchy saying: no block, no rock.
That's something that we absolutely emphasize here, whether you're the number one receiver or not. All those guys got to block. They understand that, and they've embraced that. And I heard a saying once, no block, no rock. So they all want the rock.
They all want the rock. So damn, they better block, man. If you want the rock, you better block. And, you know, I've called many times on this program and all the other ones I've been a part of here on ESPN Wisconsin. I've called the Packers' depth at pass catcher their superpower. Right? You know the top four. And if you don't, you've been living under a rock. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks with the 65-yard touchdown catch from Jordan Love on Saturday. Don't forget about those tight ends either. Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft entering their second year as a member of the Packers. They've got some serious depth at wide receiver. Now, they don't really have a number one, right? You think of all those years with the Jordy Nelsons, the Greg Jennings, the Devontae Adams of the world. Defenses knew who the Packers offense would be emphasizing from a pass-catching perspective. They knew who they'd been emphasizing. Last year and now this year, Christian Watson could have a game. Romeo Doubs could have a game. We saw it Saturday. Dontavian Wicks could have a breakout game. Those tight ends could come into play. It's hard to scheme against as a defense. Dan Orlovsky on SportsCenter yesterday was asked to rank the NFC North. Dan Orlovsky, the former NFL quarterback, was part of that Lions team that went 0-16, but really good analyst, really smart guy, was asked to rank the receiving cores, including the wide receivers and the tight ends, in the NFC North on SportsCenter yesterday. Lions 4 with Sam Laporta, the star tight end. Amon-Ra St. Brown, not too shabby of a pass-catching unit there. They ranked last. The Bears, who added Keenan Allen, already had DJ Moore, add Rome Odunze in the draft from Washington. They rank third. The best receiver in football happens to play for the Minnesota Vikings. That's Justin Jefferson. TJ Hawkinson's not too shabby of a tight end. Jordan Addison, who was unfortunately carted off at practice today. Haven't seen the update. I think they said it was not too serious on an ankle sprain. They rank second. And Dan Orlovsky said the Packers have the best pass-catching unit in the NFC North because of the depth, because of the youth, everything they provide. I don't know if I agree with Orlovsky, but I see where he's coming from. when you have that many options to throw the football to, you get a pretty good problem. Pretty good problem for the Packers offense is they're not really scared about who the wide receiver one is. Christian Watson, if he's healthy, he does things that nobody else can. Jaden Reed, he could certainly do things nobody else has. Deebo Samuel Jr., Deebo Samuel Light, I like to call him. Dontavian Wicks looking like maybe the best route runner on this team. And by the way, Mr. Reliable, Romeo Doubs. This is a good pass-catching unit. Maybe somebody will rise to the top, or maybe, or just maybe, because all these guys still on the rookie deal, depth will be their superpower, and Jordan Love, the $55 million man, will continue to elevate them. We will see. We will see. More to come on the Homer Hour coming up in about 15 minutes. Fox 6 Sports Director Tim Van Voren will join us to give us the latest from Lambeau, talk all things Green Bay. And coming up next, we'll talk a little bit about the evolution of joint practices. And is it going to get chippy on Friday between the Broncos and the Packers? First time in the practice setting, you're seeing somebody that's not yourself. Curious to hear from Matt LaFleur and his thoughts on that. And we will continue to get your reaction to our discount liquor poll question. Do you think A.J. Dillon makes the roster of this Packers team? All still ahead, another half an hour with you. It is the Homer Hour. I'm Alex Strofe in for Homer right here on ESPN Wisconsin.
The Homer Hour is back after this on 94.5 ESPN.
Still seeing some backups along westbound 894 right out of the Mitchell interchange all the way to 68th Street. It's going to be a heavy ride. Southbound on the bypass, seeing backups from National Avenue down and around the Hale interchange to about 84th Street. We've got pockets of heavy traffic through there. Eastbound 94, watch for backups coming out of the Zoo interchange to 68th Street. And then again, right as you're coming across 35th Street. The westbound side's also backed up out of the Marquette all the way to Mitchell Boulevard. Traffic is brought to you by James Imaging Systems, your local document imaging partner. Visit jamesimaging.com. And check the TMJ4 Storm Team forecast tonight. Increasing clouds, more humid. Rain moves in later on, a low of 68. Tomorrow, windy, morning rain, then scattered afternoon thunderstorms, up to an inch of rain likely. A high of 77. From the WTMJ Traffic Center, I'm Debbie Lazagon, 94.5 ESPN.
There's a good chance you're on a budget. We all are. But she wants a diamond. You know it. I know it. And Robert Hack Diamonds knows it too, because they offer a huge collection of lab-grown diamonds, and they sell them at crazy prices. How about 2-carat total weight diamond studs for $8.95? Robert Hack Diamonds can get any size, shape, or clarity in natural or lab-grown diamonds. Don't buy until you call Robert Hack Diamonds. $8.95 for a 2-carat pair of diamond studs. Oh, baby! Robert Hack Diamonds in Greenfield and in Brookfield. Why overspend when you can save at Robert Hack Diamonds for the same diamond you're looking for? Some jewelers are charging nearly $5,000 for a lab-grown diamond. Not Robert Hack. Your visit will be worth it, and she'll think so too. Robert Hack also offers repair services and cash for your old gold. But remember, before you do anything, as I did, RobertHackDiamonds.com, and visit them in Brookfield or in Greenfield.
Hi, Drew and Jonathan Scott here, reminding you that a lot of life's firsts are better with help from American Family Insurance. Like your first home expansion or your first big lightning strike. There's a first for everything. Get the right home policy at the right price with the right help from American Family's agents. Life's better when you're under American Family's roof. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's original craft vodka. In 1995, Tito Beveridge built his very own distillery and put his life savings into it. Since then, he's won the unanimous Judge's Choice Double Gold Medal at the World Spirits Competition, the Chairman's Trophy for World's Best Vodka Tonic, and many others. Tito's Handmade Vodka is still made on the same land where he started it, all in Austin, Texas. Distilled from corn and gluten-free. Visit us at Tito'sVodka.com for recipes, videos, and more. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly.
When the power goes out, your life is disrupted. Heat, air conditioning, refrigeration, phones, all gone. Be prepared for the next outage with a Generac home standby generator. After sensing a power outage, a Generac generator automatically restores your home's power, whether you're home or away. Power your life with a generator from Adams, Wisconsin's #1 rated Generac dealer. Adams provides sales, installation, maintenance, and 24/7 service from all locations. Learn why Adams is your best choice in providing power peace of mind. Visit adamspower.com today.
They say seeing is believing, and when you see what's inside at American Place Casino, you better believe you're gonna love it. Because when it comes to amazing gaming, we're a real game changer. With the most exciting of table games like blackjack, craps, and roulette, the newest slots, a sportsbook, restaurants, bars, and more. So if you're ready for excitement, we'll see you soon. American Place Casino. Change the game.
Must be 21 years of age or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537.
You're listening to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
The Homer Hour rolls on live from the Milwaukee Night Market. I'm Alex Strofe in for Homer. I'll tell you what, I moved from Madison, what has it been now, about 4 months ago? The stuff that goes on here, man, is nuts. I mentioned in the first segment, there's a dude running around here with like 2 live chickens, just taking pictures with people, plopping a live chicken on people's shoulders. Can't say I've ever seen that one in Madison. It's a new one for me. Bad day for me to wear a fleece quarter zip, though. Beautiful night here on Wisconsin Avenue for the Milwaukee Night Market. If you want to come check it out, really cool thing. I mean, food trucks and vendors and art on display. I'm right across from a caramel apple stand, if that's what you're craving. Tons of good stuff to come check out if you're looking for something to do on a beautiful Wednesday night here in the beautiful city of Milwaukee. I'm Alex Strofe. If you're not familiar with me, for those of you that were expecting Homer tonight, I'm usually a producer of Kyle Bruston Norman from weekdays from 2 to 5. Also host Mr. Irrelevant, a digital-only and podcast show 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can find that wherever you get your podcast. Just search Mr. Irrelevant. Also host our Green Bay Game Day pregame show across numerous stations statewide. So that's why I really like to get into the weeds on preseason and all things Packers football, because the stuff that goes into the preseason, man, it fascinates me. This is how you construct what the Packers are hoping is a championship roster. When you do what you did a year ago as the Green Bay Packers, the youngest team in the league, an unproven quarterback that you really don't know what to expect. To start the season 2-5, you go on the road, you win a playoff game. You have the eventual NFC champions on the ropes. This isn't a team that has big question marks anymore. This is a team that, like many years with Aaron Rodgers and like many years with Brett Favre, expects to be not only in contention, but one of the last few teams alive in the postseason come January and February. So this is a really fascinating time period when you look at guys like A.J. Dillon, who were kind of faces of this team, right? A.J. Dillon, the last 4 years, was a face of this team. And now we're questioning whether or not he's going to make the roster. The Discount Liquor poll question on Twitter at the Homer Hour at ESPN Milwaukee is just simply, do you think A.J. Dillon will make the roster, final 53-man roster? 63% say yes, 37% say no. We'd love to hear from those of you that say yes, because we're hearing from a lot of people that are with me. I'm on the no side right now, and a lot of people chiming in, loving the interaction. By the way, today on the text line, 800-990-3776. Appreciate all of you chiming in, especially on this A.J. Dillon stuff. People have opinions. Including Bo from Fort Atkinson. So many Packer fans thought A.J. Dillon was going to be good strictly because the size of his quads. Well, we see how well that laid out. Can't tell you nothing, says Bo from Fort Atkinson. Good text from Bo there. It's funny. Chef Ed says, AJ has been given too many chances. Can't get a first down Saturday. Can't score from the goal line last year. It's time to turn the page and let him go, says Chef Ed on the text line. Would love to hear from you, 800-990-3776. This is an interesting text, and I want to make sure me and Scott are on the same page. Scott in the 262. How safe is Christian Watson? Wide receiver room has a lot of talent. I believe his seat is also hot. I would imagine Scott means from a playing time standpoint, not a final 53-man roster or roster stability standpoint? Scott, just follow up on that on the text line if you don't mind. I imagine you mean from a playing time standpoint. In terms of roster standpoint, Christian Watson 157% will make the roster. And I would go ahead and say he 157% will be a starting wide receiver on this roster. But I brought up the depth is their superpower point that I like to make when it comes to the Packers wide receiving core. Maybe the cream rises to the top, and your top three are Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, and Dontavian Wicks, and you'll see less and less Christian Watson as the season rolls on because strictly there's too many mouths to feed. I don't believe that's the case. I believe why you bring in a guy like Matt LaFleur to be your head coach and why you keep Matt LaFleur as a guy that is your head coach is because of the offensive genius he is, the innovative play caller and play designer he is. That's why he's your head coach. So when you have a guy like Christian Watson, who, bar none, is one of the fastest players in the entire NFL, you find ways to elevate him. You find ways to get him open. You find ways to allow him to make plays when he's healthy. And, of course, the injury's been the big bugaboo for Christian Watson. But his seat is not hot, Scott. It's not hot. He's one of your top four guys, and Matt LaFleur will find ways to utilize his top four guys, and Watson, Dobbs, Wicks, and Reed. It's going to find ways. So you're right on that. It's the Homer Hour. Alex Strofe with you from the Milwaukee Night Market. Before we get to TVV, Tim Van Voren, the sports director of Fox 6, I really enjoy this explosion of joint practices we've seen. The Packers likely will not play their starters the next few weeks because they view the joint practices as live game reps. They have one Friday against Denver in Denver, and they have one coming up next Thursday in Green Bay against the Baltimore Ravens. I believe Jordan Love is done for the preseason. His quote-unquote game reps will come in these joint practices against the Broncos and the Ravens. Matt LaFleur talked, though, about today with his meeting with the media, kind of about the chippiness. While there's been an explosion of joint practices, there's also been an explosion of dust-ups and fights in these joint practices. I think Matt LaFleur's take on this and what he's kind of heard from around the league is really interesting. Here's the head coach of the Packers.
We've got a similar philosophy in terms of what I saw the big pub that Mayo got. That's something that we've kind of been doing here as well. If guys need to play in the preseason, you get in a fight, you're not going to play, and vice versa. That's for the guys that aren't anticipating playing. That's the practices are the times to do your work, and if you don't get your work in, you're going to get it in the game. So that's kind of how we've operated around here for a couple of years.
Love that. I love that. If you're a backup, you get in a fight, you're not playing. You're a starter, you get in a fight, get your ass on the field. Because that's when you get your work in. That's your game reps. If you want to be a veteran who gets excused from playing in a preseason game, cooler heads better prevail. And I hate to use him as the example, but it's the most recent example. And he kept his cool last year. But let's not forget Quay Walker a couple years ago. The essential one of the leaders of this Packers defense under Jeff Hafley. He will be the quote-unquote green dot guy. He will be your defensive play caller of sorts. He got kicked out of 2 games a couple of years ago. So let's just say, and again, I hate to use him as the example because cooler heads have prevailed for him. He let's just say he pushes, starts a dust up in practice, in the joint practice on Friday. He's going to be playing on Sunday against the Broncos. I like that philosophy from the head coach of the Packers, Matt LaFleur. Stealing the philosophy, but he mentions Gerard Mayo, the new head coach of the New England Patriots, who is replacing, of course, Bill Belichick. So just an interesting philosophy from the Packers that I thought you would enjoy hearing. 800-990-3776, your way in to the show. But coming up next, they dub him the greatest wingman in the world. I don't know why that is. Pebble, do you know the story briefly on why Tim Van Voren?
Homer's always called him the greatest wingman. So,
all right. Well, we're going to have to ask him. We're going to have to ask him coming up next. Tim Van Voren, the sports director, Fox 6, gives us the latest from Title 10. We're also going to find out the world's greatest mystery. Why is TVV dubbed the greatest wingman in the world? We all find out together. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Almost out of my seat here at the Milwaukee Night Market. It is the Homer Hour. Alex Strope with you from the Milwaukee Night Market on ESPN Wisconsin.
More of the Homer Hour coming up next on 94.5 ESPN. Alex Strofe is Mr. Irrelevant.
If you're paying him, the expectations he should be one of the 5 or 10 best quarterbacks in the league all year long.
Tune into ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12:30 for Mr. Irrelevant with Alex Strofe.
So the national expectation is this guy is the real deal. And I believe that. But how real of a deal is it?
Mr. Irrelevant with Alex Strofe every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12:30 on ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube.
Are you ready to be treated like a VIP? Drop the third-party apps and download the Cousins Subs app for true VIP status. Then order your favorite subs and sides directly on the Cousins Subs app to reap the rewards. You'll get access to exclusive, limited-time-only products, coupons, and special offers, and you'll earn reward points, free food, and Cousins merchandise. Now that's how a VIP should be treated. Cousins Subs. We believe in better.
Every great Midwest bank branch has document imaging technology from James Imaging Systems. Michael Quizon is IT Systems Administrator. Michael, the bank has a slogan.
We are called Simply Local. We're a Simply Local bank.
And your business technology company, James Imaging Systems, has been a 100% locally owned and managed company right here in Wisconsin for over 40 years.
They're more like a partner to us.
In what way?
We call on them at any point. They're there. We ask them any questions that we have. They're there.
James Imaging Systems, document imaging technology, and local service and support.
We can get our printers up and running right away if we have any issues. We can do our business without any downtime at all.
The benefit to Great Midwest Bank?
Efficient operations, time savings on my end. There's no other partner that we can bring on.
Start your partnership with James Imaging Systems today. Call 262-781-7700. James Imaging Systems, your local business technology partner.
An ESPN Radio Extra Point with Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman.
Brian Flores, with Ryan Fitzpatrick as his leading passer in Tua's rookie year, won 10 games. Double-digit wins. The following year, they won 9 games with Tua in and out of the lineup due to injuries. When Trevor Lawrence was drafted, Urban Meyer was the head coach, and I put that in air quotes because he wasn't really around. He was asleep at the wheel. Like, they played a road game on a Thursday night, and the coach didn't travel back with the team. When have you ever heard about that in the NFL? Never. Trevor Lawrence had to not only overcome a franchise in Jacksonville that had back-to-back number 1 picks, that just lets you know the talent base that's on the team, but then also have to overcome a coach that was awful. And what happened when he got a legitimate head coach? He won the division, won a playoff game. 2 things that Tua has never done.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Meet Cheryl. Hey. She's on vacation and lost in the moment. Unfortunately, so is her Chase debit card.
It's gotta be somewhere.
Maybe she lost it at salsa night.
These skirts should have pockets.
Or maybe she lost it at Pilates.
3 and 2 and...
But she's not worried. With the Chase mobile app, she can lock her card till it turns up. Tools that help protect. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Welcome back to the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN. The 3 most important letters in sports. Even better than those.
TVV.
It's Fox 6 Sports Director Tim Van Voren on the Homer Hour on 94.5 ESPN.
TVV, Fox 6 Sports Director Tim Van Voren joins me now. It is the Homer Hour, live from the Milwaukee Night Market. I'm Alex Strofe, in for Homer tonight, talking all things green and gold. We will get to the green and gold momentarily, I promise. We will wrap the show up talking green and gold with the legendary TVV. But the question everybody needs to know, including myself, Tim, is how did you earn the nickname Hall of Fame Wingman? What did you do for Homer?
Homer sets things up, Alex, more than anybody else. You know that. I don't even know the origin. It's a Homer creation, and then once it's created, it just takes on a life of its own. If I could tell you some good story, I promise I would share it. I just can't do that.
Well, Tim, I know you're a legend in Milwaukee, right? You're a terrific all-time broadcaster in this area. I figured you would at least come up with a story. You can lie to me. I'm not holding you to an oath here.
All above board, no question about it, Alex. If I could give you something, I would, or even if it would, create a narrative, I'd do it.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. Well, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little disappointed, but that's fair. I will have to ask Homer the origin story, how you became a Hall of Fame wingman.
You know, he stays with it, then he creates kind of a monster, and it just takes on a life of its own. Whatever the true background is, undoubtedly will be a letdown. There's no other way to slice it.
All right. Well, I appreciate your honesty nonetheless.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to know. I've been dying to know for years now, Tim. I've been dying to know, but it's all right. Well, life will go on. All right, let's talk a little Packers here, Tim. I do want to start with the kicking battle because I think last time I chatted with you, we got into this a little bit. Rough day for both kickers. Anders goes 4 for 6. Greg Joseph goes 3 for 6. I don't know how your leg is these days, but I'd be willing to hold an open triad at this point. How are the Packers going to figure this one out, man? It's a rough situation.
I think it's a leap of faith ultimately at the end of the preseason, Alex. I don't understand how they could do it any other way. If the numbers are terrific for both of those kickers, are you going to feel 100% confident? I'm asking you, are you going to feel 100% confident that that is the right kicker? Correct. And if they struggle, are you going to feel 100% through the preseason? Are you going to feel 100% confident that if they go out and get somebody else, he will be better than Greg Joseph or Anders Carlson? I would also guess probably no.
Also no. Correct.
So I think it's a leap of faith at the end of camp. They love it to be Carlson. I think he can kick himself out of that job. I think that's true. But I don't think anything's a lock until you get into the season and whoever it is starts making kicks. Until then, either one's going to be looking over their shoulder, and I think the Packers themselves will be looking over their collective shoulder.
I think you are 100% correct on that, and it'll be a tough one to watch as we roll on here through the preseason, getting ready for Game 2 on Sunday against the Denver Broncos. I started the show, Tim, talking about A.J. Dillon. Obviously, I'm not blaming the lack of a first down on Saturday all on him, but he's struggled through his first 4 years, brought back on a small deal. I love everything he does off the field. On the field, not so much, especially after we see what Emmanuel Wilson did on Saturday, Where do you think A.J. Dillon's roster security stands right now on August 14th?
50-50, I would think. I think he offers a lot, Alex, in terms of versatility, knowledge of the offense. Locker room chemistry, I don't think you can overrate that, but when you lose Aaron Jones in the offseason, I think A.J. Dillon does definitely provide value to you there that not everybody can equate with. I would say, however, Emmanuel Wilson's a very strong, decisive running back prospect. And Marshawn Lloyd, if you draft him in the 3rd round, you have big plans for him. I don't see a team that is playing out of Green Bay that's going to keep 4 running backs on the roster of the regular season. So I don't think A.J. Dillon has a job. I don't think A.J. Dillon is out of a job. But I think the next couple of games in the preseason and those joint practices that we're going to watch, I'm on my way to Denver tomorrow. Those joint practices we're going to watch with the Broncos and the Ravens are going to be particularly telling.
You're such a pro, TVV, with me here on the Homer Hour, because I was just about to ask you. You've covered the Packers for a long time now, not to age you, but the explosion of these joint practices is fascinating to me, right? Because Jordan Love's not going to play because we view Friday this week and Thursday next week against the Ravens, the joint practice, as his game reps, as his live bullets. How do you feel about the explosion of joint practices and how coaches around the league are handling these as kind of quasi-preseason reps for big-time players?
I actually think it's a pretty good deal, to be honest with you. I think that the 2 practices per team is better. The singular practice, i.e. one against the Broncos, one against the Ravens. Matt LaFleur has spoken to that. Mike McCarthy was still coaching when the Bills came in, and that was a big deal. The Bills were there, and they did some things back and forth. Then we went a long time without seeing it in Green Bay, and then suddenly it came back. And the Texans, that was chippy with the Packers and Texans, and the Saints and the Patriots. I think the system is pretty good now. Last year in Cincinnati, even in just the one day, the Packers and Bengals got into it, and that was the story. I'm standing there on the sideline in Cincinnati, or not really knowing what to expect from that, and that, of course, became the story of what to talk about there, who was going to do what. It took the first day, and they were all stirred up. So by a second day, you didn't need any of that. I think it's actually a pretty good deal because you're going to see Love and the number one offensive players against a different defense and against somebody who's scheming against them to a certain degree, even though it's preseason and practice. But they're not going to be having guys take runs at them. The Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy was not going to be their starting quarterback at the start of the season. I don't think that's true. But he certainly would have been in the picture as the season went along. And now that entire option is off, not because of something that happened in a necessary high-contact situation, but you just can't afford to see your entire future plan.
Yeah. Breaking up with TVV here, but hopefully we can get him back here in a sec, because I do want to follow up on this last thing for TVV before we have to wrap up the show ahead of Thanalysis on air here on ESPN Wisconsin. I'm fascinated by how they handle this, right? They're the youngest team in the league. I understand you don't want to throw your $55 million quarterback to the Wolves in a meaningless game, but when it comes to some of these rookies and second-year guys, specifically the receivers, the tight ends, and the safeties and linebackers they drafted this year, they need the game reps. I almost feel like they should play, but I get not playing your veterans, Jair, Preston Smith, etc., and your $55 million quarterback.
And that's why the practices are so important. They are, from a coaching standpoint, viewing these as reps, Alex. And whether we can see the same merit as the coaches do, that's where the emphasis is being placed by the Packer coaching staff in particular.
That's really well said. TVV, is it Mexican food? What are you most looking forward to eating out in Denver?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, we could probably get everything before you're said and done.
Oh, man. I did a 4-day trip, ironically, to Denver last year. It was some of the best food I've ever eaten. So safe travels. Enjoy it. Look forward to seeing your coverage on Fox 6 and hearing you next week with the Emmy Award winner, Homer. Thanks, TVV.
All right. Pick. Slide me a review there, a recommendation.
Yes, sir. I can certainly slide you that. That's Tim Van Voren, Fox 6 sports director, joining us here on the Homer Hour. The Hall of Fame wingman, although we don't know why. We don't know the origins story. I was really amped up for that. I'm not going to lie to you. Right, I'm hearing good music to my left. I'm smelling good food to my right here at the Milwaukee Night Market. Nothing excited me more than learning why TVV is a Hall of Fame wingman. I guess Homer's got to tell us that story at some point. Appreciate all the interaction tonight on the ESPN Wisconsin text line, 800-990-3776. We have the poll in the field. Do you think A.J. Dillon will make the roster? It's about 50-50 as it stands right now. We will see what happens with him, but I imagine he'll be getting some playing time Sunday. Imagine he will in that preseason game. Nighttime preseason game, number 2 for the Packers against the Broncos. 7 p.m. kickoffs. Make your coffee in the afternoon on Sunday. We will see. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Homer is back with you tomorrow here on the Homer Hour. The Chicken Man is back. All of his chickens and his chicken hat here on Wisconsin Avenue. Handing off his chickens. I love to see this. This is unbelievable. You think I get a chicken on my shoulder before we wrap up the show? You got 20 seconds. There's a chicken on my shoulder now. Unbelievable. I don't know how to feel about this right now, but this is how we're wrapping up the show. Appreciate you hanging out with us. This has been the Homer Hour with me and the chicken. I'm Alex Strope. We'll talk to you soon right here on ESPN Wisconsin. Thanalysis coming up next.
We still have some delays on southbound 40.